Yo, what's up? Thank you for tuning in today. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in. Thanks to you for supporting the show. I'm Shane Raymer. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast. And today we're talking with my good homie, Phillip Wright. Phil is definitely one of the funniest dudes I know. And he's also a guy with one of the biggest hearts that I know. And he gives a damn good bear hug. That's for sure. Just ask my son, Cash, Phil's little homie. And I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. First, before we do that, please check us out at thatsoberguy.com for past episodes and resources. You can also connect with us on Instagram at RealThatSoberGuy and on Twitter at Shane Raymer. Now, if you're listening to this via iTunes, Spotify, any of the other audio podcast platforms, and you want to watch the show live with video, you can go to youtube.com/thatsoberguypodcast. You can check the videos out there and make sure you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got the TSG merch store. We got some men's shirts. We got some shirts for the ladies, some hoodies, some coffee mugs. Always good to check those out. Help support us, support your recovery. Get your TSG merch. That's soberguy.com. You can go there and click on the store tab. And then what else we got going on here? I'm really excited to announce this. That Sober Guy podcast will be live at the Hollywood Improv with special guest Darren Prince, Brandon Novak, and more to be announced. And then the big homie Mark Saratella will be kicking it off with a little bit of comedy, which is going to be Off the Hook, and super, super stoked about that. And speaking of Mark, I just want to give him a big shout out and a big thank you for reaching out to help set this show up. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some laughs, and we're going to spread the good word of recovery. So for tickets, you can go to thatsoberguy.com/live shows, or you can go directly to the improv site. It's improv.com/Hollywood if you want to go directly to that venue, and you can get your tickets there. All right. Phillip Wright, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm so pumped to have you on, my brother. What's up?
Thank you, man. I'm excited. I'm stoked. Yeah, I didn't know I was the bear hug guy, but you know what? I'm down for bear hug.
Dude, you give one of the best bear hugs between you, Seth, and then my homie Brandon Stump, who is the creator of the Ohio House, a bunch of sober living facilities down in Southern California. Great place down there. He is also known for the bear hug. So I think between the three of you guys, you got a good little contest, a good little setup of some massive, warm, welcoming bear hugs. So thank you for that. I know Cash appreciates it.
Yeah. You know, I'm a hugger. I got it from my mama, and I just hug. I come in for the hug. Even though, like, you know, Christian people or even like sobriety, you know, that's funny. That's like one of the first things that people talk about. Like, you know, I'm not down with this hugging thing, and you know that. Even here, I think I heard someone last night in a meeting. It was talking about, man, when it was a testimony. He said, man, when you guys were hugging me, I couldn't stand it, but at the same time, it made him feel welcome, right? It made him feel loved, and so that's not why I do it, but I do it, and when I hear that, I love it. You know, it's like, okay, that just keeps me going. I'm coming in for the hug. There's
something about a hug. I didn't understand the hug either. My family was not regular huggers. I mean, I would definitely say we hugged. You know, we hugged on Christmas and Easter, and you know, when you see each other. But like, it wasn't ever like a normal thing. So when I went to Jess's family, dude, her family is big time huggers. So I got to give credit where credit's due. Jess really introduced me to the hug, and I got to agree. One of the best things, nothing like a good solid handshake too. You ever shake a hand and it's just like a wet, dead, cold fish, and you just go,
those are the worst.
Man, that's terrible, dude.
Those are gnarly. Yeah. You just want to punch them in the face after that.
What does that say about your manhood if you have a
I don't know. You know, and you got to remember too, there's other cultures, dude. They don't shake hands like we do.
That's a good point.
And so, you know, you got to take that. That's something I've noticed. People that they're from other countries, they're not big shakers, you know. They kiss you on the cheek, and they do hugs and stuff. But I like a good handshake too, you know.
I think I'm getting though a little bit weird on like the germ phobia thing now too. Maybe it's coming with old age, where it's like you shake hands or whatever, and then I want to like wash my hands because I don't want to get sick or get some germs or anything like that too. I don't know. I think I'm just getting weird, Phil.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm weird.
You are, with considering all the things. I mean, that's how I look at it. Like I was just a human trash can, for drugs and anything. It's like
Yeah, now I'm
this
worried about
doorknob ain't got nothing on the needles that I used before. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, dude. And bro, let me take a sip real quick.
yeah, 5 minute rule. 5 minute rule. If it's on the ground longer than 5 minutes, it's okay. You'll survive.
Bro, you have one of the, and I've heard parts of your story, your testimony. I've heard a lot of great funny stories, which we're going to get into some of those tonight. But dude, you had a long run, and you probably shouldn't have made it through some of the things that you made it through. So, maybe we can kind of jump back a little bit. And for those out there who don't know you, maybe we can get to know you a little bit and just maybe take us back a little bit when you were a kid. And then, what it was like growing up, and then how that led to, to a life of on the streets eventually, and addiction.
Yeah. Growing up, I was come from a family of divorce. My dad was around till I was 8, and when my dad was gone, he was gone. We had a hard time growing up. Got evicted out of apartments. Having sheriffs come, being totally broke. I remember even having a Christmas where we couldn't even, with my mom. It was I have a brother. He's 2 years younger than me, so it's my mom and my brother and I. And I remember being in this apartment in Concord where we were so broke we couldn't afford a Christmas tree. And so my grandma, she came over. She had like this Christmas decoration. It was like this paper mache tree thing that she put like on top of, we had one of those old school stereos. It looked like a dresser, and so, like you open up the top and there's a turntable in there,
Oh, yeah.
I'm old, guys. I was born in 70. So yeah, this is, I think this is around 1979, 1980. And so that was our Christmas tree, this little paper decoration. That was it. And, we had a hard time. I remember being so, my mom couldn't afford presents. So she got us like one present each. That was it. And we lived in this apartment complex. And I remember getting these knocks on the door, and there's the kids and they're wanting to see what we got for Christmas. And we were so embarrassed, man. We did not even answer the door, and man, we were just like, we're ashamed. I mean, that's how bad it was growing up, after the divorce. But let me give you the bright side to that story. We got this one loud knock, and it wasn't like any of the other knocks. It wasn't the kid knock, it was this grown man knock. And we opened up the door, dude, and my mom just started crying. And so we go to the door, and it was a firefighter from the church that I guess they knew we knew we didn't have nothing. And man, the whole back of his pickup truck was full of toys.
Wow.
So what started off as the worst Christmas ended up being like one of the best. But I thought you were
gonna say it was Santa, but that's even better, man. Just
yeah. So, no, it wasn't. Yeah, we didn't even have a chimney. Yeah, he couldn't have made it in. We lived in the hood in Concord, man. It was rough. It was a rough apartment complex. But anyways, so we partied. We partied to, all our friends, everybody smoked, everybody drank, everyone's, everyone, if you had an older brother, he smoked pot, I mean, it was just like this normal thing to smoke pot and drink beer. And that's what it was. That's all I knew growing up.
That's kind of what you saw growing up all around you. So I mean,
that's how you made friends. I mean, that's who, that's how you fit in, that's just what everybody was doing, so that's what the cool kids, at least I thought the cool kids, there were jocks and, there's the different group types, but, I just connected with the stoners, man. And we were potheads. And then that doesn't last for long, that becomes, when you have an addictive personality, that's not enough, you got more, and so next thing you know, you start doing coke. Next thing you know, we're doing crank, and
how old were you at this time?
Oh man, I was 14.
Dang.
14 years old. 14 years old when I first did coke.
It's a young mind.
Yeah, but it was it's just what we did, that's just It's just how it was back in the 80s, you know, everybody partied, you know, and
that was definitely like the Coke era, the 80s, Miami Vice. And
there was, you know, then you hear the stories of crack. And you're like, man, I'll never do crack. Yeah. And then one of my homies is like, dude, I got some crack, you know, like, all right, let's do it. You know?
I swore I'd never do this. Screw it. Let's do some crack.
All the things that you swear you'll never do, you end up doing, you know, and for one reason or the other, you know, because you're just curious, you know, you're like, oh, I'll try it. Yeah, sure. You know, next thing you know, you're smoking crack. And then next thing you know, you're carpet farming for a piece that you might have dropped. You know, you know? And it's just,
watch out.
Oh man.
Get the flashlight out.
I had a friend. We would get drunk, and usually this is how it started out. We'd get drunk, and then once we're drunk, and you know, most people would go home and stuff, we would take it to the next level. Hey, dude, let's go get some Coke. You know, let's go get some crack. You know, we'd go over the hill, we'd go to Pittsburgh, and man, we'd been I don't know how many times we got ripped off, you know, over there. But you know, it's just one thing leads to another, you know. I was actually let me fast forward, you know. I mean, that's just what it was growing up, you know. I did get to a point, though, I would drink so much. By the time I was 21, I actually was sick of drinking, and I checked myself into a rehab.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I was drinking so much. I'd buy a case of beer a day just to make sure that I had at least a 12-pack for myself, because I knew my friends would want some, and I'd get a fifth of Jack Daniels. Wow. You know, that's what I drank at 19 years old, 20 years old. It was brutal. So that's when I first got sober in 92, went into rehab. Man, I felt great, dude. Life was good, but I didn't surrender all of it. You know, I was still smoking weed. You know, I thought alcohol was just my problem. You know, I don't have a problem smoking. I just need to quit the drinking, because when I start drinking, the next thing you know, it's one beer, then I'm thinking about the next beer, and then I'm thinking about a crack pipe, or then I'm thinking about a line, or I'm thinking about something, you know. And so if I just cut out the drinking, I'll be okay.
Yeah. So. It's funny how alcohol does that too, because I never wanted to do Coke. Really, well, I can't say never, but it was definitely less that I wanted to buy Coke or do more drugs when I wasn't drinking. But as soon as I would start drinking, just like you said, one beer, and then it's like, boom, well, okay, well, I'm definitely having another beer, because who drinks just one beer? And then on top of that, now that little voice starts coming in, man, why don't you hit him up and go get a bag real quick, you know? And it just escalates from there, man.
Yeah, it does. Crazy. It does. I mean, and I wasn't a big crackhead, but that was just the kind of stupid stuff that we would do.
Yeah.
You know, when we were drinking. So I stayed sober, man. I'm sober. I was sober for 4 years and 8 months. Actually, you know, I talked about how my dad left early in my life. Well, he came back into my life, and so we actually had a relationship, you know, and, you know, made amends and stuff. So at this time, you know, I'm living in San Francisco. This is about 96, 97, you know, because I'd been sober for 4 years and 8 months, and I relapsed on Father's Day, you know, because I asked my dad, what do you want to do for Father's Day? He said, let's just go up the coast and eat some oysters and drink some beers. I'm like, sounds good. You know, like, let's do it. You know, for some reason, I just thought that, you know, I'd been sober long enough, like maybe I wasn't really this alcoholic or this addict, you know. I mean,
plus it's like my dad too, and I want to connect, and let's just
with my dad. Yeah. You know, my dad doesn't know the mind of an addict. You know, he's like, look, you can have a beer. There's nothing wrong with drinking a beer, you know, like it's American, you know. If you don't drink a beer, you're not American. You know,
have a beer and eat a steak and shut your pie hole.
Yeah, shut your pie hole, you damn kids, you know. Just that's how my dad was. He's just really rough around the, you know, construction guy.
Super manly man, huh?
Manly man, you know. I mean, he's very alpha male too.
Yeah.
You know? So when he's in the room, man, it's really all about him, and pretty much anything he says goes, you know. And you know, it's funny, man. I'm going to be 48 this year, and I'm still that way around him. You know, if he says go do that, I'm like, yes, Dad. You know,
dang. Dude, that's funny. Like how how we're you know, because we're conditioned really at a young age to or programmed, or whatever word you want to use. Like what I've continued to learn, like, is about, it's like unlearning stuff. So like just what you're talking about, like going, like that vibe that you get when you go around your pop or whatever, or like the programming that we automatically go into this mode. And it's like, how do I, instead of learning all this new stuff, how do I unlearn how to not be like that? You know what I'm saying? Like that's some crazy stuff.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing that's cool now. Now I could set up boundaries, you know. My dad, I'm a Jesus guy. I'm all about Jesus. I go to church. I love church. In fact, the sobriety program that I'm a part of is Celebrate Recovery. It's a Christ-centered recovery. You know, we have 12 steps. AA's got 12. You know, it's all 12 steps and whatever works for you, right? But this is what works for me, man. I love it. This is the best life that I've ever lived. And, you know, you know, there's one night where I was at my dad's and he was like bagging on Jesus. He was bagging on religion. And you know, it's as hard as it was, you know, for me to say, I was like, listen, dude, I don't want to go there. You know, let's not, you know, I had to put up some boundaries and really, you know, I didn't let him walk all over me, you know, as before I would have, you know, so, but it's still hard. You're still afraid of like, okay, is he going to kick my ass now that I just said, no, okay, we're good, you know, but anyway, so I'm in San Francisco and I drink, dude, once I had that beer, I had that beer up in Half Moon Bay.
This is with your pop, and you guys go out to get oysters and like celebrate.
Yeah, on Father's Day in '96. I could not, dude. I drank one pint, and that was it, man. It just turned on. All I could think about was getting the hell out of my dad's car, getting home, and going into the liquor store across the street from my house. And that was the first thing I did. As soon as my dad dropped me off, I pretended like I went into my house, like looked. Dude, we're so stupid. I'm like looking, you make sure he goes around the corner like my dad's going to be watching me in his rearview mirror, you know. Yeah. But that's what our mind does, right? And so I wait for him to be gone, and then I go across the street, you know. And
how long had it been since you drank at that point?
4 years and 8 months.
Dang, dude. And so one beer, and you automatically go right back to where you started. And I'm assuming, and you're going to continue on, but it probably got worse.
Dude, it did. So I had a union job, had an apartment. You know, I had a lot of, you know, I had all the stuff that I was functioning, right? I was just smoking weed. But now, once I started drinking, next thing you know, I started going to clubs in this city. Next thing you know, I'm doing ecstasy. Next thing you know, I'm doing the GHB stuff, the date rape drug. Man, I loved that stuff. Snorted heroin. You know, I mean, it was just like anything that came along my way. And that's really when I was introduced to crystal meth, you know, and it was like introduced to me as like, oh, this is the purest form. It's clean, you know, like they really sold me on it. Like, oh yeah, because I don't like crank, you know, I don't like tweakers, you know, oh no, we're just clubbing and, you know, oh, okay, you know, and that's when I smoked my first bowl of meth. And dude, it was just on from there. And so my life just, you know, you just get one circumstance into the next. I got kicked out of my apartment. I slept under a bridge there in San Francisco. That was weird, dude. It was raining. Yeah, this is kind of a funny story. I don't know why I'm sharing it, but yeah.
Share it, baby.
Share it. It was raining. I find this mattress and I throw this mattress down, but it's like this skanky mattress, right? So I'm like, I can't sleep on this. So I go get cardboard, man, and I make like this cardboard bed and I fall asleep. Well, when I wake up, dude, I'm like spooning this homeless lady.
Are you kidding me, bro?
I'm like, what the?
Damn.
You know, I'm like, I didn't know what the, you know, it's like, I don't wake her up, right? I'm like sitting on the edge of this bed, like watching traffic go by, just going like, what's happening to my life right now? And she's like, all pissed off. She's like, get your ass back down here. I'm cold. I'm just like, dude, I ran.
Damn, you ruined her spoon. Dang.
Oh, man.
Did you catch her name?
No. It was,
oh, wow.
It's just crazy, man. All the situations and things you just find yourself in when you're using it, you know, stuff that it's just like, how the hell, you know, but yeah, dude. So, I mean, it just went from smoking. I mean, I was really, I was going to clubs, dude. I was really living, it was fun, man. I was selling it. I was getting it cheap. And, and that was, so that was going into my 30s. I was thinking about it the other day, like all of my 30s, man, I was high,
Man.
the entire, my 30s. So, like I was saying earlier, all the things that you said that you'll never do, you end up doing.
Yeah.
So I went from smoking it to snorting it. And then eventually I ended up started to shoot it up, and that was.
Did you think you had it under control, like all that whole time too? Is that the mentality is like, man, I got this, like I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, or I guess maybe waking up next to the homeless woman might've been that was
time. And that was literally the beginning of the end, and it just spiraled from there. It just, I went from having an apartment and stuff in the city to having a roommate, and then losing that, and then sleeping on someone's couch. And then that's when my couch tour started. I was just sleeping on couches and doing stuff. I mean, my life was, I was just surviving, and that's what I did for a long time, man. I survived, I wasn't prospering. At no point did I ever think that I had it under control, because I knew I was out of control, but that's what, when you're in that meth addiction, when you're totally that addicted, you get to a point where you're not even getting high anymore. You're just surviving. I needed to be awake. I needed to function. I needed to be normal. So
when did you move into the lady's house? The lady, I can't remember her name now.
Oh, Mrs. Copeland.
Mrs. Copeland. Did you move into Mrs. Copeland's house around
I moved
this
into
time?
her garage.
I moved into her garage.
Yeah, I moved into her garage. That was man. So this lady, man, she had 29 cats and 3 dogs. And man, I just it was my friend. He lived there. That was his mom. And man, he would steal her car at night. He would go dumpster diving, and he'd come back. He'd drop off the stuff, and there was it was a 3-car garage. It was at the end of a court, and I mean, it was tweaker central, and yeah, just the places that you find yourself in, and the things that you see and the things that you do, cutting the lawn with scissors at 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to help out,
Mrs. Copeland, I'm mowing your lawn.
Yeah.
You mind chipping off $50 off the rent?
Oh man, she never gave up a buck, but she put us to work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny too. Like, here's this lady, and like you guys kind of help out around the house, and you help her and stuff. You kind of probably keep an eye on her and stuff too. And at the same time, you're just living your life, and it's kind of one big, somewhat happy family in a sense, right?
Yeah.
To an extent. And 29 cats and
3 dogs. 3 dogs. It was an experience, man. It was how do you find these places? They just, and I'm sure that's not the only place that's like that, but yeah, that was oh, now I remember. It's all coming back to me. You know how I ended up there? I actually tried to get sober. Like I came to Vacaville, and I tried to live with my mom, but my mom knew that I was still using and still in a bad place. So she's like, yeah, Phillip, you can't stay here. My sister's going to graduate high school, and we just think it's best that I don't live there. Dude, I was so upset.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Mom, I'm trying to clean up. She's like, well, you've made your choices. That was like the first time like I had to, own up to the decisions, right? Facing the choices that I've made in life, and I was just like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to get more high, and I'm just going to do this. And,
I think that's a good point real quick that you bring up is the justification that we can use in order to get high or to continue living that lifestyle. So I had a homie recently I talked with, and a couple things stood out to me when he was talking about how, he would get in a fight with his lady or whatever, and then use that as an excuse to go out and get high. You know what I mean? So similar type of thing you're talking about. And that's a really like, I know I did that for a long time until I kind of went, wait a minute, like it ain't her, it's not him, it's not them, it's actually me. Like, wow, imagine that.
Yeah. Anyways, let me, so 10 years later, dude, I find myself in Pittsburgh, and I'm living in the back of a motel. Actually, like 5 years. I lived in this hotel for 5 years in Pittsburgh. And that was, dude, I was a tweaker on a bicycle. man, I had nothing, my hustle was, I had some software that would crack passwords, so local dope dealers, man, you give me a stolen laptop, I'd crack the passwords for them. And then, that was my hustle. I'd fix computers, that was it. Smoke dope, fix computers, tweak all night long doing it, so that was what I had. And, dude, I just got to this point where it's like, dude, I can't live like this anymore. I got to change. So I called my mom. If I would have called my mom and told her, hey, Mom, I'm on drugs. Can I come live with you so I can get off them? She would have said, no way. So I actually had to trick my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, I got some laundry. Can I come up and do some laundry? Can you come pick me up? So, oh, okay. Yeah. When do you want me to pick you up? I'm just like, I'm thinking in my mind as soon as possible. I'm like, just pick me up tomorrow. Like, okay. And it's like I knew then I was never going to do it, man. And it was like dude, I snorted a couple of lines. I smoked a big old rock, man. I was going to make sure that I got as high as I can so it would last as long as it could, because I knew that I was never going to get high again.
Damn.
So I told my mom I was just going to do laundry, but really I had all my stuff, man. I had 2 baskets of clothes, and it was just, plus my other stuff was in there, so it's like, hey, my mom's like, how much laundry do you have? I'm like, oh, it's been piling up for a little while, Mom, and that was it. Then on the way to her house, I told her, listen, I'm on drugs and I need to get off drugs. I need to clean up, She's like, okay, well, if you're going to stay, you're going to have to go to church. And this was on a Friday. So as soon as I got to my mom's, it's crazy, dude. I mean, I did enough stuff to keep me up for at least the weekend. But I got to my mom's, I passed out. Woke up. I woke up a couple times. She was praying over me. And then when I woke up in the morning, just totally sober, totally normal, no come down, no, I wasn't still high. I wasn't any of that, and it was tripping me out. I'm like, why am I feeling like this? I didn't know what was going on. Right. And so now it's Saturday. I'm like, okay, we're ready for church. I'm like, okay, let's go, And when I walked into church, man, I felt a presence that I've never felt before, and it made me shake. I was literally, my hands were shaking. I didn't know what was going on, but at that moment, I knew that it was going to be my moment. I knew something was going to happen. I just wasn't sure what, and I don't even remember what the message was about, but I just remember at the end, when Pastor Dave says, if this is your moment, everyone's head bowed, if it's your moment, I want you to look up at me and wave at me. And dude, I was like, me, I was just like, oh man, it was just like such a weight lifted off of me, it's unexplainable, man. It was just, I was just like, yeah. And they're like, okay, if you made that prayer, if you raised your hand, come down here in the front and everyone can go. Dude, I like ran down front, and I remember this couple, they were Keith and Roselle Danielson.
They just spoke at CR recently.
They did speak at CR, man. And they're all, hey, Phillip, what's going on? I'm like, I couldn't even talk, dude. Like, how do we get? I raised my hand, and they just like, okay, awesome, welcome home, man.
We feel like you just like dumped 20 years of like drug.
Yeah, man. I was just like, I felt so free and just felt like, oh my God, I've never, how come I've never felt this before? Because I grew up around church. My mom's been going to church since I was a kid. Like I said, like the firefighter, he was from our church. Dude, I hated church. Yeah. To me, being a Christian was, they're hypocrites. They just want your money, a bunch of legalism, a bunch of, just do's and don'ts. Hell's hot and it's getting hotter. And if you don't repent, well, you're going to burn in hell and, memorize your scriptures, none of all this stuff, and I'm going to have to wear khaki pants and a button up shirt. I'm going to have to knock on doors and
a little short tie.
Bibles. Excuse me, brother. Have you heard the good word? Like, man, and that was my vision of church.
I think that's a common perspective too for a lot of people. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a stigma to it, and I think that's the difference between religion and having a relationship with God.
Yeah, Yeah, it is, like the Catholic Church, you go to the Catholic, oh,
Stand, sit, stand, sit.
You're doing a religious act, none of that's in the Bible. It doesn't say to do that. I went to a Catholic service. I'm like, where the hell what am I doing? I couldn't keep up. There's so much stuff, and knowing what I know now, that's just a bunch of religion, and man, God is awesome, so, like I said, I went to, it's funny, man. I tried going to some different churches, when I was still high. I'd go to churches to get free food, and so, yeah, I went to some Black Baptist churches. There's some Holy Ghost, hanky waving, amen, hallelujah, Jesus. Come on, let's go, brother.
Dude, the Baptist church is right on the corner here by our house, man. And they rock out on Sundays, man. They're
like, there, yeah, Jesus. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, you're just like,
I love it too, man, because all the people that go, man, they just come dressed to a T too. Like they're looking legit.
They got 5-star, top notch, you name it. Dude.
Yep. Always super cool.
The Joneses for sure. They looking good. But that's what I thought church was. Yeah. And for the first time, I actually had an encounter. I actually had an experience, right? And so it was so freeing, man. It was so uplifting, and it was just all these things. The main thing, it was just a freedom, just the weight that was lifted off of me, and so looking, knowing what I know now, that when I woke up, God had delivered me from my meth addiction. I've never had the desire to ever go back. I don't struggle with that desire to get high again. I'm not saying I don't have struggles now, but it's not that. It's not that, and I thank God every day for that, for delivering me, and so that's how it was for me. I had an encounter with God, and he rocked me, he rocked my life, but then there we are.
Yeah. Now what?
Now what? So I had this awesome experience, and now I'm not doing drugs. I think I just picked my nose on.
That's cool. Dude, I pick my nose on here all the time, bro. Join the club.
So good,
Hey, you could be like, man, dude. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt really fast here, dude. I've been finding boogers all around the house, bro. I've been finding them on the carpet. I've been finding them on the walls. I even found 3 boogers, one bloody booger, lined up on the passenger side armrest in the car. And I said, what is this, dude? And this dude just picking his nose and just wiping him everywhere like it's a contest or something, man.
Yeah.
I said, bro, I go, you're gonna pick your nose, because I'll catch him picking his nose now. I go, you're gonna pick your nose. You either eat it or go get a tissue, please. Okay, you need to do one, but please don't wipe it all over the house, dude.
Yeah.
What it's like to be 4, right? Just wipe my boogers everywhere.
Raising boys.
So I had to get that off my chest real quick. Sorry.
You flicked a booger. Come on,
bro. I still roll boogers. What a hypocrite I am too. I don't eat them or wipe them on my carpet or anything. But yes, there's nothing like rolling up a good booger and flicking that bad boy across the room.
You have to. It's just
part of being a man.
It is a dude thing.
So what next, man? So you go through all this stuff, man. You get saved, and then you're right. It's like, wow, I had this powerful experience like I've never felt before. And then, like, now what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so yeah, you still have the mentality, right? I still have Phil, who's 40. I'm 40 years old at this time, and I'm 40 years old, and I still got the last 14 years of my life, of me being addicted, having that mentality, and having, living life on the streets, surviving, sleeping on people's couches, and that stuff, it carries with you, and that's what you need the program for today. That's what you need the steps for, so you can have the tools, so you can work on your character defects, because all the addiction stuff, those were side effects of what was really going on. I was doing drugs and drinking because I wanted to be accepted, right? When my dad left, I felt rejected, right? So here I am, I'm rejected. I didn't know. I mean, I knew my dad left, I never thought it was my fault, but the rejection was so strong on me. Like, I didn't think that I can be normal. I didn't think that I can have friends. So I thought that I had to do these things for friends. You know, oh, if I smoke weed, you know, if I drink beer and barf it up, you know, everyone loves me. You know, I'm the guy, you know, drink the beer as fast as you can, smoke as much weed as you can. And, you know, I did that all for acceptance, right?
Yeah.
The cool kids, you know, and nobody accepts you more than anybody than an addict, right? You know, misery loves company. You know, that's why it's so easy to fit in with a bunch of drunks, with the stoners, you know. So that's what I did.
Did you ever do a strikeout?
What's a strikeout?
It's where you, let's see, you take a bong rip, and then you shotgun a beer, and then take a shot, and then blow the smoke out. Strikeout.
Yeah, we didn't call it that, though.
It may have had a different name, but I just pictured you rocking one of those.
Rails, man. We did. We drank, dude. I remember eating dope, man. We, you know, it's like I put it in a tissue called tissue bombs. You know, you put it in a tissue and you eat it. You know, and I forgot that I ate it. Now
yeah. Oh wow. All right.
Good. How's it going? Hey, good. Have a nice day. Yes, sir. Hello. Hey. You know, I'm like, all right, feels so good. Oh yeah. I got 4 ounce of crank in my mouth. And anyways, so here we are.
That is so crazy, bro. Just, I mean, the mentality, right?
Yeah, you know, you just do stuff. So, yeah, so dude, so now I'm moving to my mom's house, and you know, the one thing I'm still smoking cigarettes. Man, I love smoking filters, non-filters, hundreds, shorts, menthol, non-menthol. You know, it didn't matter what it was. You know, in fact, my favorite cigarettes were OPs. You know, other people's. They taste the best. Your smokes will taste much better than mine every time.
Oh yeah.
So I love smoking, man. And so, so I don't know if I've ever told you the story or not, but so my mom, she lived 2 doors down from Pastor Dave, right? And so I'm outside smoking, and I think I'd been saved for like 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, you know. And so I'm outside smoking. I see Pastor Dave, he's leaving. And I'm waving, hey, Pastor Dave, hey, you know, and he's like doing something with his hair, and he waves, and I'm like, bro,
you thought he flipped you off?
Bro, you just flipped me off? What the, dude? Man, I'm chain smoking. I'm like, maybe he's gonna come back, you know. Dude, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to throw down. I'm all that mother. Dude,
the pastor just flipped me off. What's up with that?
The pastor of a 3,000, 6,000, however many people, you know, I don't care who I don't care who this guy thinks he is. Dude, you flip me off, dude. I'm going to beat your ass, right? You disrespect me, man. You know, like my feelings got hurt, really, right? That's what we get angry the most, right? When our feelings get hurt, but we're too, you know, we're too tough to admit that we have feelings.
But we're all broke and soft inside, really deep down.
Feelings, you know. But so that's how I'm going to act out, right? You hurt my, you know, I'm like, hey, you hurt my feelings. You know, that's it. I'm beating your ass, you know. And I'm just like, I'm going to kick Dave's ass. That's what's going to happen. And so I'm outside. I'm waiting for him to come home. Probably an hour go by, and I'm still pissed. I'm still doing it. You know, this is going to happen. This is going to really happen. I'm going to kick Pastor Dave's ass when he comes home because he flipped me off. You know, he ain't going to disrespect me. I don't know who the hell he thinks he is. My parents come home, and my mom, it's Mom and Ray. My stepdad's always been Ray. It's never called him Dad. It's always Mom and Ray. So Mom and Ray come home. Hey, Phil, what's going on? I'm like, I'm waiting for that Pastor Dave dude to get home. They're like, oh, what? Why? What's going on? You know, they just knew by, you know.
You had the look.
Had the look, you know. I'm just waiting for that Pastor Dave. You know, like, well, why? Well, what's going on? Tell us. You know, I'm like, he flipped me off. You know, and I'm gonna kick his ass when he gets home. And they're like, whoa, Phillip, come in the house. Come in the house. You know, I'm like, no, I'm waiting for. I don't want to miss him. You know, like, come in the house. You know, they're like, and Ray's like, Phillip, he's the pastor of a church. He's a pastor. I don't think he flipped you off. It's not the kind of guy he is. I'm like, you know, I'm like, I know what I saw. He flipped me off, you know, just like, oh, yeah. And I believed it, you know, I was believing it, you know, I just had this, you know, I don't care what you say. I'm going to kick his ass anyways, you know. And I'm just, oh man, funny, just look dude, I was such an idiot, man. It's just such a retard, you know. But that was where my mind was at, right? Yeah. About respect, and don't disrespect me, and you know, you got to fight for what you have, and you know, that's just, oh man, it's horrible.
It's funny because you think that that's like at the time that like we kind of talked earlier about like the mentality thing. Like at the time, you think that is like that you're a mature man, like you're being manly or whatever. But at the same time, it's the complete opposite. It's such like an immature way of thinking and like totally insecure and not strong and broken. And that's a trick. Has Pastor Dave heard this story, by the way?
I did tell him the story.
I would have loved to hear his.
Dude, he laughed so hard. He goes, that would have been fun. You know, and of course, you know, Dave's tough. He's like, you know, you would have died trying. You know that, right?
I love it.
On my side. I'm like, okay. Actually, so living next door to him, I actually developed a really good relationship with him. I needed cigarette money. So I see he had some weeds in front of his house, right? They had like rocks or whatever. And so I go there, I start pulling weeds. I'm like, I know if I pull, you know, if I do some yard work, they're going to give me some cigarette money, you know? So I pull some yards and knock on the door. Well, hey, just pull all the weeds in yards. Can I get some, you know, some cigarette money? You know, like I thought that was a cool thing to do, you know, like it's a brilliant idea, you know? Yeah. And so Pastor Don was like, sure, here, you know, we got some more weeds in the back if you want to give those a shot, you know? So I go in the backyard, dude, and the weeds are like as tall as I am. You know, I'm 6'1", you know, the weeds are up to here. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I go, I buy me a pack of cigarettes. I grab my stepdad's weed whacker, and I'm in Dave's backyard, just whacking away, dude. It's just, I don't know what
to buy you a carton of cigarettes, huh?
110 degrees out, dude. I'm out there just, so I'm like, I'm taking a break. I'm smoking, and Dave comes home, and he's like, who the hell is in my backyard?
Yeah.
You know, and he saw it was me. He's all, Phil. He's like, what are you doing? I'm cutting your weeds, dude. He's like, so I actually ended up getting a nickname from him. He called me Phil the Weed Man.
Phil the Weed Man.
You know, and it's funny because he even said in church, you know, we call him Phil Weed Man, not because he gets the good stuff, but because he mowed a bunch of weeds in my backyard. Yeah. But it's just cool, man, how God puts people in your life, you know. You know, Dave wouldn't have picked me out of a brochure like, hey, I want this guy to be my friend. You know, we just ended up becoming friends. You know, he gave me rights to church. And, you know, one of the cool things, man, when you're, you know, it's hard starting your life over when you're 40, right? You know, one of the things is, you know, dude, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have a car. Didn't have a driver's license. I mean, I didn't have nothing. I had nothing. I just had that basket of clothes, you know, and so I had this radical experience with God. And man, I'm looking for work. I can't find any work anywhere. But the church was hiring a janitor, so I got a job at the church as a janitor. And you know, that doesn't sound like much, but for me, it was everything. It was everything because you know they gave me keys. I called it. They gave me keys to the kingdom. You know, so I had keys to all the church vehicles, the entire church. You know, I took care of the church. Man, it was like the first time I was trusted again. You know, it's like, man, I'm being, you know, they trust me, you know. At first I'm thinking like, don't they know who I am? You know, like
if they only knew.
Dude, I could rip off everything here, you know, and sell it. But, you know, I didn't, you know, I mean, that's not, because I knew that this time was different. I knew that I had the experience, and, you know, as God, it's funny, man, is you don't realize how much you lose in an addiction till God starts restoring it. Like I lost things that I didn't even know that I lost, you know, like integrity. I didn't know I didn't have any integrity till I got it back. I'm like, shoot, I can't even spell integrity, you know, but I'm trusted again. You know, they gave me, you know, next, you know, I'm leading small groups. I'm getting, you know, I got involved with sober recovery, you know, just all the things, man. It was cool. I was doing Adopt a Block. I was a block leader. I was driving the vans around. You know, God restored all these things in my life, you know, and it all started off with a simple job as being a janitor.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think, I mean, you bring up a really good thing of service right there, the service work. No matter what program anyone is in, generally it comes back to service work and, you know, doing things for other people, helping other people. Like you said, showing up, being there, small groups, CR, whatever it is, you're showing up and you're giving back and you're feeling like you have a purpose, like you're contributing, and it helps excuse me, it helps to build back up that self-esteem. And so one thing too, it doesn't happen overnight. Like we're still going through this, you know, I don't want to say struggle, but some days are a struggle. I mean, we all go through things that some days are better than others, man. And it's constant work. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say too, man, you're such a good leader, bro, at CR. Like I didn't mention this earlier, but you lead, we're in a step study group right now. We just met earlier tonight, actually, before we recorded this. And, you know, you and Bill, two great leaders in the group, and you've continued to do that and continue to serve and give back to these other men out there who are coming in broken and watching them grow and be built up. And so I just want to say thank you for that, number one. And it's just really awesome to be a part of it, dude. So thank you again.
Glad having you there. Yeah. You know, see, here's what happened to me, man. So like Pastor Dave, the church, God, you know, somebody believed in me, you know, and so I've never had anybody believe in me before. I've never had anybody trust me before. And so I've learned, like, I learned early in my recovery that, you know, God doesn't show up in a limousine, you know, roll up the window. Hey, come on, man, it's your turn.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't show up that way. You know, he uses people who are being obedient. You know, they hear his voice, you know, like when we're feeding homeless people, when we're feeding, you know, we're being the hands and feet of Jesus, you know, when we're serving, you know, when we're welcoming, you know, you never know what your smile is going to do for somebody that's walking through those doors at the first time. Right. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is just to walk in the doors, you know, and they have to build up courage. I've heard story after story of how people sat in the parking lot and drove away. You know, they had to build up the courage to come inside. You know, but then when they get welcomed, it's like, wow, you know, I feel like I belong here. You know, everyone's so cool. And, you know, it's because, right, we build up these scenarios in our mind, you know, how things are going to go down, and, you know, it's going to suck, or people are going to judge me, or no one's going to understand me. You know, it's all going to be a bunch of women. There's going to be no guys, or there's going to be no guys, no girls, you know. I mean, we have all these what's the word I'm looking for? You know, just these assumptions of what things are going to be like, right? And they're not. So when I had that opportunity to greet, to lead, to pray for somebody, bro, I couldn't pray for dinner when I got here. You know, I couldn't. I was like, God, you know, Phillip, can you pray? I'm like, yeah, God is good. God is, what do you say? We all eat, you know? That's it.
You know? That's all I got, God. That's it.
Yeah, man,
that
you know,
for now.
You know, when you're going to church and, you know, you're in your recovery, you want to learn how to pray, right? Right. That's, you know, they say, hey, pray more. Okay. Well, how do you pray? You know, I don't know. You know, you start listening to other people pray, you know, it's like, okay. You know, and that's what somebody told me, man. This guy, Gary King, he's like, yeah, man, it's like a salad bar, dude. You know, just pick what you want and leave the rest. You know, you hear what that guy's got, you know, you get a few buzzwords or whatever that you can relate to. Right? You don't want to just be making up words, but you want something that really speaks to your heart, you know, and your prayer. But here's the cool thing about prayer. It's the power is not in the prayer. The power is in the one who hears it. Right? Yeah. Amen. Can I get an amen?
Let me get an amen. I love it. Amen to that.
So God knows our heart, you know, and so it's, you know, he's not, oh man, I just thought of a scripture and I just lost it. But, you know, it's God knows our heart. You know, he's going to, you know, God will give us the desires of our heart, you know, and we're to pray for everything, you know. And so it just takes time, man. It just takes time. Keep coming back. You know, they say keep coming back, you know, and that's what I did. I just kept showing up, dude, when the doors were open. Yeah. Every time. I didn't care what kind of meeting it was. I would go to it. If there's something I could serve, I was ushering. And, man, that was fun. That was a trip, collecting offering, you know, and I'm like, dang, they're trusting me with all this, you know. I remember telling the lead usher, I'm like, you know, I was in jail, you know. I look back to some of the stories I used to tell these Christians, man. I'm surprised they even let me do anything in this in this church. But that's what's cool. Remember, we're talking about the preconceived notions of church and how we thought it was. Dude, it's nothing like that, man. Church is actually fun.
Well, I find too, there's a lot of assumptions about it. And a lot of the time, if I've asked people, well, have you ever been? Well, no. Well, how do you know, like, what well, someone told me. Well, it's like, well, okay, why don't you maybe go try it out? You know what I'm saying? And see what you think yourself. I think that's a good approach.
For me, it is the best choice that I've ever made.
Yeah.
The best. Not once have I ever regretted going to church. Not one moment, not one instant, not one circumstance. Even when people, piss you off and step on, because here's the thing, when you're leading and you're a part of ministry, or when you're just attending, people are people. We do it for the people, but the thing that makes it suck are the people, because there's some weird people. Not everybody's all good and awesome. And, we got some jacked up people in our church. We got some jacked up people in our program. We're jacked up out there, and we come in here, we're just as jacked up, and
well, I think that's such a good thing though too, because I think that's what keeps a lot of people out is not giving it a chance, because thinking that, man, the people that are in church or in, whatever it is, whatever religion, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but like whatever it is, they're perfect. They got all their stuff together. They think that they're better. They think it's like, no, you're missing the point. It's the complete opposite. Like, we're all jacked up, and that's why we're all coming here, is because we're trying to work on self and get better and learn, you know what I'm saying? And build that relationship with God. And it took me a while to really grasp that concept. And once I kind of put my guard down and said, okay, wait a minute, it's not like that. Like, I'm jacked up and I'm still working on things, and I'm going to continue to do that. That's why I keep showing up,
Yeah. Yeah. They don't care. I mean, the pastors have tattoos.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, lead Pastor Dave, he had an addiction, he was jacked up on drugs. Everybody, and that's what's really cool about this church, man. I don't feel any judgment. I don't see people judging other people, it's just everyone, they just want to see you succeed.
So Phil, what do you say to somebody who has an issue with church? Or what would you say, or what have you said, or like, what's your take on that? Obviously, if we're just speaking of the recovery community in general, so whether it's CR or AA or NA, I'm just thinking as a whole group, just the recovery community, there's a lot of stigma behind God, behind church, behind religion, all that stuff. And I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. Different things work for different people. I don't really care what you do. I know what I do works for me, and that's what I'm saying. And for you, I'm sure the same thing. But like, what's your take on somebody who, who is really anti-God? Because I get those emails sometimes too. Well, I don't like when you talk about God so much. Well, it's like, I'm not throwing it on you. I'm not telling you how you should do or what you shouldn't do or how you should live your life. I'm just sharing what worked for me. Do you ever experience that with someone coming into a program or in recovery, like where it's super anti-God, and like, what is your take on that? I know it's kind of a crazy question, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think
it's real.
I think people that are anti-God are people that haven't had an experience with God, or
maybe a bad experience.
Some traumatic happened. Why was I molested? Why did this happen? Why did my mom die? My mom died, my mom just died recently in July, and she was at my house the night before. We were watching TV. The next day she calls me. She thought she had food poisoning. The next phone call I got, 2 hours later, she was getting taken away in an ambulance. 4 hours later, she died. Why did my mom have to die? And so I could shake my fist at God, I could shake my fist at all kinds of stuff, right? But she just died, it doesn't mean that God did it or God allowed it or God, I mean, I think that people put those, look at all the hunger, look at all this and that that's happening. You can't tell me there is a God. Well, it's like, I know there's a God because I had an experience with God, and I think the people that hate church. So what would I say? I think your first question was, what would I say to somebody that doesn't like church? Well, I think that you haven't been to the right church yet, because there's a lot of jacked up churches. There's a lot of jacked up people. There are people that just want your money, so there's, you learn some words, you learn some things becoming a Christian. There is no anointing. There is no Holy Spirit. There is no, there's no favor. There's no blessing. There's places that do not have the blessing of God, because they're not putting God first. I know in my life, in my finances, you tithe. Yeah, I do. I give him the first and the best, because God gave his first and only son to me, for me. He died on the cross. That's what I believe. I believe Jesus died on the cross for me to save me, and so it's just, one of the scriptures in the Bible that talks about, this is the only thing that you can test God on, is like with your money, so people get really hung up with money, and he says tithe, and watch, I will double it. I will, what you give comes back to you, but God wants a cheerful giver, and so we tithe and we're blessed, my wife and I, we tithe, we're blessed. I'm part of a church that's awesome. I've been in some jacked up churches, and I've been the victim of some messed up stuff in churches too, and so I know that it's people. It's the people that are jacked up. It's the people that hurt people. It's not God hurting people. So, I don't know. I believe everyone's got the right to believe in whatever God they want to believe in, or, but, my God is faithful. My God, he hasn't let me down. Like I said, I'm living the best life that I've ever lived.
Yeah.
Right now.
So let's kind of move into that, man, before we kind of go on the tail end of this conversation. Like, what is life like today, man? I know you've hit on a couple things already, but I know you've really had some amazing things happen, man. You found your beautiful wife, Charlotte. I know that's been a huge turning point and huge moment in your life. And some other things have happened with work and with leadership and leading other men and that stuff. So, I mean, what's life like today, Phil?
Dude. So like I said, man, I've got into sober recovery. I ended up, we have multiple campuses. We have a Napa campus. There's a Father's House, East Bay, Father's House, Napa, Father's House, Roseville, Father's House, San Francisco, the church has grown.
Yeah.
And, in Napa, they wanted a celebrate recovery. So I actually went out there and started a step study and raised up a bunch of leaders, and we we have a CR out there now, and it's running strong. There's 50 to 75 people on every Monday night, and it's just, I never thought that I could do anything like that. And here I am, I go out and I started a ministry and raised up some people and left it out. It's, when I walked in these doors, I couldn't look at anybody in the eye, and, now people look up to me, it's a trip, it blows my mind to think that I would have never thought, if you would have told me the things that I'm doing now, I wouldn't have believed you at all, So yeah, I met my wife here in church. Totally. It was so awesome, dude. They actually let me propose to my wife in church.
I was there. Jess and I were there. That's right.
You were there. And funny, all the pastors like, are you sure she's going to say yes?
That's an important question.
I think so. I hope so, and we did. I've lived, since I came to church, dude, I've lived my life. I'm an open book. I live out loud. I'm not afraid to tell people I'm a Jesus guy. All the things that he's done. You want prayer, man, I'll pray for you. If you want prayer in church, you want prayer over the phone, through a text, in the supermarket, in the express lane, in Costco, I don't care. I'm going to pray for you, and so I know prayer works, and I know how encouraging it is. So I'm a prayer guy now. I never thought that I would be a prayer guy. I pray every day in the morning with my wife, and, doing that with my marriage, man, it's just, I think just being saved and having a relationship with Christ and being in church and involved in church has helped me to be a better husband. Learning how to put things in place, so I met my wife, dude, I have a house, I got a job that I was praying for a job because when we first got married, I was driving Uber,
Yeah, I remember that.
That's all commission, dude. It's just, man, long hours driving out into San Francisco. The only way to make money in an Uber is in San Francisco. So unless you like driving out in San Francisco every day, it's not a cool gig.
Bro, I would drive my car off the pier into the water, I think, if I had
to. Dude, it was just, yeah, I wanted to sometimes. I did. Met some cool people, though. Saw a lot of cool things, but still, that doesn't make up for it. But, I was praying for a job. It was actually when I was tithing. I'm tithing money that, it's like, man, we're on a really low budget. And we were coming out of, we were doing the 21-day fast. And that was one of the things I was fasting, which is something I never thought that I would ever do, is fast. Like, what the heck is that? Like,
the only time you fast is when you're on dope, man, because you don't want to eat.
I fast when I go to bed, and I wake up, the fast is over.
That's time to eat.
Yeah, and it's time for break fast, breakfast. Anyways, I got a phone call. I got a phone call from a company that I used to work for. They're like, hey, we have a supervisor position for you. Are you interested? I'm like, well, let me think about it. Yes. God gave me a job. When can you start? I'm a leader. So I'm a leader at CR. We lead, we're not leading any small groups right now. We're kind of taking a break from that, so we're just attending. You got to learn to have balance in your life. But I'm actually leading a missions trip to the Philippines.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you're going back. So this is your second trip, right?
This is my second trip.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, on my last trip, I was able to go into the Bahal District Jail. Dude, they line up, man. They call out, they blow their whistle. Everyone goes in their cells and they come out. And then I got to speak to them. And then they all sing this song to welcome me.
That's so crazy.
And then I got to share my testimony. Nice. And dude, I asked everyone, if you want to get saved, man, they all raised their hands. And then they wanted me to sign their Bibles. I'm like, I didn't write the Bible, I just think it was just so weird. But this guy, he goes, I want to remember every time I open my Bible, I want to remember your story and how it inspires me. I'm just like, dude, I'm in tears, man. I'm like signing it, so I'm just writing encouraging words. But, I was just a tweaker on a bicycle, man. I had a basket of clothes with nothing, and now, like I said, I'm living the best life that I've ever lived. I go to church. I love it. I get to serve. I love it. The more you serve, you actually think that you're out there helping them. You're actually helping yourself. You get more out of it than they do. It's humbling. It just wrecks you, man. It wrecks you. It does. It's awesome.
That's that saying, right? To keep it, you got to give it away. I always love that one, man.
You do. You do. Don't just, it's not, sobriety's not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
You don't just sit back and watch things happen, man. You gotta get into your books. You got to do your homework, man. You got to serve. You got to fill up all that time. You think about all the energy and all the things when you're using, or even just drinking. How much you made time for drinking. You made time to get high. That was your number one priority, and that's how you have to treat your sobriety too.
Yeah.
Shoot, if you can just do a quarter of what you put into getting high, man, you'll make it. You'll do all right.
For sure.
Read your Bible. Shoot,
Yeah.
You read your Bible, more than half the people that are even going to church. It's just, it's funny, man. But you when you start reading the stories and they start making sense to you, you start to relate to them. It's cool, man. I never thought that I would like the Bible or I'd like stories in the Bible. So I know I'm all over the place sharing all this stuff.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Before I forget, I wanted to give an official shout out to our step study group. I thought that it's such a cool group, man. I know I mentioned it earlier, man. Just appreciate you and Bill leading it, and just wanted to say what's up to those guys in case they tune into this, man. It's good.
Do you remember everyone's name?
Man, I don't even want to go around the horn. Oh, you go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Do it, man. We got Big Jake, right?
Yep.
We got Big Jake. We'll just do first names. Big Jake, Shane, Big Kev,
yep.
Right? Doug wants a hug, man.
Hugo?
Doug's this older guy, and he's just awesome, man. He's, and that's what's cool, man, is we just get to love on people, and he gets to feel a part, man. He's a part of something now. And that's how I feel now that it's like I'm a part of something that I've never been a part of before,
Sure.
I have a purpose in my life, and I know what that is. Okay. And then we got Brian, we got Hugo, and we got
Jason.
Oh yeah. Jason's good. He's a good dude. He's
Joe.
Seeing him change. Yeah. Joe. Remember, I didn't think Joe would last the first week.
Yeah.
And he's still making, he's still going, and that's the thing, man. You can't judge a book by its cover, and like you said, oh, see, there's a church guy judging people. Well, you just see guys, and it's like, I'm thinking, man, we give them the benefit of the doubt for sure, and we're going to believe the best for them. But in your mind, you're like, I've seen guys like this come and go, and this is one of the guys. He's going to come and go.
Well, I think that's good though. Like we're human. That's the thing. Like, yeah, we go to church. We work a program, Celebrate Recovery, but like we're human. Like we're flawed human beings. Like, and that's just the way. Like I'm not. I'm not always on my best. That's for sure. I try, but.
Yeah, you just we want to be better than I'm much better than I was when I first walked in these doors.
Yeah, for sure.
Have I arrived? No. It's a journey. The road they call it the road to recovery. It's a road, man, and we're going down that road, and so that road's got twists and turns, and it's not just smooth sailing. There's once you think you have arrived, and I've seen it, man. I've seen it where guys they come in, their marriage is on the rocks, and they clean up, and their lives get, they get their marriage back together, and they think they're fixed, and then they go back to doing the same thing that they were doing before, and everything falls apart on them, and it's sad. But once you think you've arrived, or once you think you're fixed, man, that's a huge red flag. I was just going to say, a huge red flag.
Yeah. Cause I know it's like, as soon as I think it's happened a couple of times, like where I'm like, oh man, I got this. I'm cool. And thank God I didn't go back to drinking or doing drugs or anything again. But like my attitude, they say that too. Like the relapse happens way before you take your first drink or whatever, And so I've been on that path a couple of times, like thinking, I'm good. And then it's like, no, all that stuff starts coming up, man. So you got to be vigilant. Who else? Did we forget anybody else? We said Kevin. Did we say Kevin? Bill?
Paul.
Gotta love some Paul.
Yeah, I just think of Paul. He's like the Marlboro Man.
He's got what I want to have Paul do some voiceovers actually for
get that man.
Oh yeah, that's a manly, raspy voice right there for sure. Baritone. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
It is. It's an awesome group, man, and thanks for letting me share tonight. I mean, I'm sorry I'm all over the place.
Oh, dude, you did great, bro. You did great.
My message is it's God is good. My life is good. Even though, like I said, I lost my mom. My mom prayed me in. I wouldn't be the man I am today without my mom. And so that was one of the other thing I forgot to mention too. Like, had I been using still when my mom passed, I wouldn't have been there for my mom. I wouldn't have been there. My mom went through another divorce over the last 4 years of her life. Right. She was single again, so I was actually, my mom was somebody who I was able to go to when I needed things and I needed help. Right. I needed counseling. Well, at this stage of my mom's life, I was able to be there for her. She was able to lean on me. I was able to give back to her, and if I wasn't sober, I wouldn't have been that.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that time. I'm thankful for that. And then when she passed, bro, I've never, the love and the generosity of people is so overwhelming, on Facebook, story after story after story after story of, of how my mom, not just people saying, hey, sorry for your loss, but actually saying like when they met my mom, what circumstance they were going through, how my mom prayed over that and how they got through the other side and how my mom encouraged them. Right. And so that's like a legacy for me. Like, you know what? I'm going to believe in people. That's what my mom did. She hung out in Starbucks, And they actually made this memorial for her in Starbucks. She sat in this one chair every day. You know, she drank her tea and she would pray for people that wanted prayer. You know, she talked to people. I mean, everybody knew who she was. And dude, people started putting up all these letters of, "We're going to miss you, Mom." My mom loved owls. They put an owl picture there. They just totally memorialized the whole corner of Starbucks for like a week.
I remember seeing the picture.
It was amazing. It was amazing, you know, and just the love of people, the generosity. Like if I walked in that Starbucks, I can't pay for a drink. Everybody's buying my drink there because of how much my mom meant to them. You know, people brought food to my house for 2 weeks, lunch and dinner every day for 2 weeks. I had to tell them to stop. It started feeling weird. Like I feel like I'm taking advantage of them. Like, no, it's cool. Do you want some money? No, I'm okay. Really, you know, but
I'll take some lasagna next Monday if you'd like, and don't forget the garlic bread.
Right?
Awesome.
Dude, we had everything. It was leftovers for days, you know. But that's the church family, right? That's the body of Christ. Those are the people that, you know, these people, you know, they love on you. They're there for you. They got your back, you know, and it's just, man, I don't know what to say. I
love it, dude. No, I love it, man. I'm so happy, man, that you came on tonight. And I know it's late. We're both tired. We both had long days, but I'm glad that we decided to jump on and have the conversation tonight. I appreciate you, man. It's really been great to get to know you a bit more. You know, our wives are friends now, and they're working together a little bit in their own step study. Yeah, it's been really, really cool, man. And I hope to watch our friendship and stuff continue to grow, and recovery and personal stuff and all that, man. If anybody I don't know, it's up to you if you wanted to do this too. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, did you want to drop an email address, a Instagram handle or Twitter handle? I don't know.
Yeah, my email is philipw2011@gmail. I don't know if you can post it. It's Philip with two L's. But that's when I got sober. You know, that's when my life changed, was 2011. So philipw2011@gmail. And then I'm on Facebook, Phillip Wright. My Instagram is _Philip_W. Yeah, you know, or they can reach out to you and you know, I'm open for any questions, feedback. You can tell me how much you think God sucks. I'll take it all, you know.
Hey, you never know. We get some crazy shit sometimes.
You know, you have a voice and opinion, man. If you want to share it with me, I'm willing to listen to it. You know,
I love it.
Yeah, and that's just where I'm at today. You know, it's just like, it's not my way or the highway, and you know, that narrow-minded mentality of, you know, if you're not doing what I'm doing, well then F you, and I'm gonna, you know.
Like, that's not people don't react to that attitude very well, you know.
No, but people get so aggressive with their opinions and things. It's just it's funny. It's awesome.
People do, man. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, man. Much love, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you again. Check us out at thatsoberguy.com. You can go there for resources. You got past podcast episodes. If you want to buy tickets for any live shows coming up, you can go there and do that too. Connect with us on Instagram at @realthatsoberguy and at Shane Raymer on Twitter. Much love. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Peace, love, and respect, and keep your blood clean.